Guys, 2024 is less than 100 days away. And you know what that means? That's the year of the next Bitcoin halving. This is the year that's historically corresponded with the beginning of new explosive crypto bull runs. And if another crypto 4-year cycle plays out, then there are 5 trends inside this space that I expect to be primed for explosion during the next crypto expansion. Some of these are new technologies, investment related. I'm going to explain each of these and why they're so important and what you need to understand as a blockchain developer myself who's worked with this technology on a daily basis through multiple crypto bull runs. So if you're new around here, hey, I'm Gregory, and on this channel, I turn you into a blockchain master. So if that's something that you're interested in, then smash that like button down below for the YouTube algorithm and subscribe to this channel. And if you want to get ahead of the next crypto wave, then I can show you how to become a blockchain master step-by-step from start to finish over at dappuniversity.com/bootcamp. All right, so let's jump into this. Let's talk about 5 trends that are primed for explosion during 2024. So nothing I'm saying in this video is going to be financial advice. I'm telling you to buy or sell any cryptocurrency-based information. But let's get into each of these. So trend number 1 is really just the Bitcoin halving in and of itself. I expect this to draw a lot of attention on its own as we approach this date. So this is coming in just 217 days at the time of recording this video, which is really just early in 2024. And that may seem like a long way away, but it's really not in the grand scheme of things. And I expect a lot of attention to go into this prior to it happening. Because in the past, you know, the Bitcoin halving has always preceded the next crypto bull run by just a few months. The last Bitcoin halving was in May of 2020, and Bitcoin broke new all-time highs just at the end of that year. And then went on to print multiples of its prior all-time high in the following year. Now, why is this? Well, that's because during the Bitcoin halving, every 4 years, you know, the amount of Bitcoin that's produced by the blockchain gets cut in half. So if there's, let's just say for example purposes, there's 100 Bitcoin being produced by the Bitcoin blockchain every day, it goes down to 50. Okay, those are not the exact numbers, but that's the whole idea. And so basically it's reducing the supply of Bitcoin. And if the demand for Bitcoin at least stays the same, just by basic supply and demand economics, that means the number would go up. Now, that being said, I'm not necessarily a proponent of saying, hey, the Bitcoin halving is like programmed in. It's always going to make the price of Bitcoin increase, because there's 2 variables in the equation. There's supply and demand, okay? And of course, you can decrease the supply slightly, but really you need a lot more demand to really move the needle. So why could that demand increase? Well, I think there's going to be a lot of speculation on the halving and the people who do adhere to the 4-year cycle thesis of crypto around the Bitcoin halvings. And so I think we will see some sort of speculation based on this, but there's a lot more demand that I expect to come that could really move the needle. And that brings me on to trend number 2. All right, so the next major trend is with crypto ETFs. All right, so what are ETFs? Why are they such a big deal? Well, ETF just stands for Exchange Traded Fund. So this is a way where you can purchase shares of an asset without actually owning the asset itself, you know, on like a traditional brokerage website or through some sort of institutional product. So the whole idea here is that we can have a lot more people, notably institutions, purchasing crypto without actually having to hold crypto themselves. And we have, you know, futures ETFs already, but we don't have spot ETFs where you can just literally purchase the shares that back up the crypto that's held in the fund. And so why is this such a big deal? Well, like I said a second ago, this opens a gate for lots of institutions to participate in the crypto space. So institutions have way more money than you or I do. They can, you know, buy billions of dollars worth of cryptocurrency without blinking an eye. That can increase the amount of capital flowing into this space, increase the demand. And we have lots of ETF applications from major players in this space, notably people like BlackRock, which is a $10 trillion asset management firm. And these applications are in the pipeline for approval. And the deadline for those approvals is coming up in Q1 of 2024. That's the final deadline. Now, truth be told, we don't exactly know if all these ETFs or if any of them are going to be approved, but there's a couple things that are potentially optimistic in this case. Number 1, BlackRock, which I mentioned a minute ago, has an insanely high success rate for their ETF approvals. So if they're able to continue on this trajectory, then it's high likelihood that they could get approval. Now, secondly, we just saw a ton of court decisions recently where the SEC's decision against the Grayscale Bitcoin Trust was struck down. And again, they're one of the people that are trying to convert their product into an ETF. And so if a lot of the common objections from the SEC are overruled, then there could be less legal ground to stand on for denying these approvals. And so if any one of these products gets approved in Q1 of 2024, that's going to be major for this entire space. Again, lots of new capital can come into the space with more confidence. And also, it opens the door for other types of ETF products, maybe an Ethereum ETF, and the list just goes on and on. All right, so trend number 3 is bringing real-world assets onto the blockchain. This has the potential to digitize things like, stocks, bonds, real estate, debt. There's lots of potential here. And now we actually have real-world assets on chain right now, notably stablecoins. Okay, if you think about it, you have a stablecoin issuer that just says, hey, this cryptocurrency is worth $1. And they are a custodian that's going to let you redeem your stable coins for that value. And so that's a kind of a boring use case because it's not have any type of financial speculation behind it, but it's working now and it's really good. And we've already seen major protocols move in this direction. Like we just saw MakerDAO buy $700 million worth of US treasuries to back up its cryptocurrencies. And we've seen TVL for real world assets grow exponentially just this past year in the middle of this brutal crypto bear market. And a lot of this progress, I think, will trickle down to the cryptocurrencies associated with this. We've already seen what's happened to the MakerDAO token itself associated with the Dapp project, boost impressive returns from the last 90 days alone. And these are the kinds of signs of life on these smaller tokens that start to appreciate in price that can often precede larger move in major cryptocurrencies. And real world assets, I think, will be a big part of this expansion. All right, so trend number 4 is all about shiny new technology, because every time we see a new wave of crypto expansion, there's usually new tech that people want to play with, especially stuff that has, financial speculation behind it. And I think Web3 social media is a big part of this trend, okay? So what are some examples of Web3 social media that's happening now, and what are some examples of other stuff that's potentially to come? Well, one big trend that we've seen the past month alone has been with friend.tech, okay? So this is basically a Web3 social media app where you can download on your phone. You can follow people and you can basically purchase their keys, which are essentially just tokens where you're buying shares of a creator, okay? And then when you buy those shares, you get access to like their private communities. And we see lots of trading of these tokens, basically saying like who's valued, who's undervalued, all that type of stuff. There's a ton of financial speculation behind it, but this is one of the first really sticky use case for social tokens that I've seen really play out in the crypto space. Now, who knows if friend tech will be the explosive thing that blows up to a big application, but it's hard to ignore the traction that's happening right now. And there's undoubtedly going to be other competitors that are coming out of the space to build off of this momentum and really push the limits of what's possible with social tokens. So the genie's let out of the bottle. It's not going back in. And I expect this to continue on into 2024 and can get much bigger. And outside of the crypto bubble, all right, let's talk more about X.com. Now, I've made several videos on my YouTube channel this past year, if you've been following along with me, talking about the developments of X.com and what's been happening behind the scenes. Just this past summer, we saw Elon Musk talking about making X.com the everything app, including a lot of financial products. So basically, visioning X could become half of the global financial ecosystem. And my bet on this channel, as we've been following this, is that crypto will play a huge part of this. And there's lots of ways where, X could move in the direction more of a Web 3.0 application, probably a very hybridized model, but where blockchain is a very big part of that equation. And one big reason why I think we could see this happen maybe even before 2024 is we just got the news that Elon Musk suggests that they're going to make X.com a pay-to-play application. Basically, you can't use it for free. You have to pay something. And now they say this is to cut down on spam bots, but there could actually be an ulterior motive here to help Elon accomplish that bigger goal of making it X an everything app that, eats half the financial system. So think of it this way. If you say everybody has to have a payment method on file to cut down on spam bots, a unique payment method, well, then that means that now you have all your users with the ability to, with a click of a button, onboard into your application to start using the financial features of the application itself. And if I'm right on this channel about blockchain being a part of that, then that has a massive ability to convert all those people into this ecosystem. All right, so trend number 5 for 2024 is all about improving the technology that we have now. And that's got to do with scaling, okay? So during the last, crypto expansion, lots of people flocked into the space starting to try out blockchains. And one of the biggest complaints was that, hey, this stuff is really slow. It's really expensive to use and it's kind of clunky. But we've spent years improving that. We've made massive strides in this regard with scaling, making blockchains faster and cheaper to use, particularly with layer 2 scaling solutions on top of Ethereum, things like Arbitrum, Optimism, Base, etc., etc. And we're also seeing a major trend of competing layer 1 blockchains that are trying to compete with smart contract platforms like Ethereum, throwing in the towel and saying, hey, we don't want to do that. We're going to convert to being an Ethereum layer 2 scaling solution instead, because that's the easiest way for them to compete for their long-term goals. And so you can see that the TVL in relative to ETH terms has been on a continuous uptrend all through this bear market, okay? And I expect that trend to continue on into 2024. And why is it such a big deal for the next crypto expansion? Well, as we move forward and inevitably new people enter the space or old people come back, the bottlenecks that drove a lot of people away are going to be made way better. All right, they're not going to be totally fixed, but it'll be way better than what was there before. And that's got the ability to retain more people, making them stickier to continue this snowball effect, carrying this on into the future. All right, so this is my top 5 things to watch out for 2024 that I think are primed for explosion in the next year or so. Now, there's so many other things that I could have mentioned in this video, but I want to really distill it down into a few really handful of things that I think can move the needle. So if you want to learn more about what these other things are, then of course, make sure you subscribe to the channel, smash that like button down below, turn on notifications. You don't want to miss a video because you'll be the first to hear it on this channel when I talk about this stuff and help connect the dots for you to see where we're going. And if you're excited about the next crypto wave that's coming, then how can you get ahead of that? Well, you don't really have much time. 2024 is just around the corner. So the best time to double down on your blockchain skills is now before things get crazy again. And how can you do that? Well, you can go to my YouTube homepage. You can find my free courses there. They're like Udemy courses, but they're totally free. And if you like those and you want to take the next step, or hey, maybe you want to take a master shortcut entirely, I can show you how to become a blockchain master step-by-step, start to finish over at dappuniversity.com/bootcamp. You really don't have to be an expert to get started today. I've helped people with zero coding experience become real-world blockchain developers in a matter of months. So that's all I've got. Until next time, thanks for watching Dapp University.